Welcome to Based on a Book, the podcast that expertly whips you from high action robot titles one week to deep psychological turmoil the next. And yes, this time we're talking about a kid's animated movie. Hello, my name is Keri, your emotional processing unit, here to assist you through this episode.
I'm Lindsey, and most of my tasks can be completed by eating.
And I'm Crystal, this group's empty nest expert.
Our theme has officially begun, and if you haven't already seen from our social media, April is for adventures, and we picked titles that we thought best fit the theme. And we are starting our adventure theme with my pick, which is The Wild Robot by Peter Brown, and its 2024 animated adaptation directed by Chris Sanders, who did Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon. This movie includes a pretty big cast, including Pedro Pascal, Kit Connor, and Lupita Nyong'o. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. And the author and illustrator, Peter Brown, who illustrates the pictures that are in the book, has many other notable works as well, including The Curious Garden, Children Make Terrible Pets, You Will Be My Friend, Mr. Tiger Goes Wild, and, as we know, the Wild Robot trilogy, which I will warn, it has a little bit of a cliffhanger in the book, the first book that we'll be covering. So for the first book, The Wild Robot is a blend of heartwarming, adventure, science fiction, family, motherhood, and nature. It follows Roz, who is a robot who unexpectedly wakes up alone on a remote island surrounded by animals and no people around. This story is about Roz adapting to survive within the wildlife. She forms connections with animals and discovers her purpose in the world she feels she doesn't quite belong in, and during that, she raises a baby goose. It's the kind of story that is thought-provoking for children and adults, with balance between humor and making you feel all the feels. So let's get into ratings. I'm excited for this one. Crystal, I want to start with you.
Oh, Lord. I'm just over here listening to your introduction, and the only thing going through my head is emotional damage.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
This book messed me up. The movie messed me up. At one point, my kid was concerned. He was like, "I'll make you happy, Mom." And I'm like, "I am happy." It was a lot.
Yeah.
However, I'm going to take a page from Keri's book, and I'm giving this 6 awkward introductions. This transcends the 1 through 5 scale. This is a 6. This is going to be a treasured family favorite for a long time to come. Oh, I'm going to cry.
Why do I want to cry?
Something in me told me this is going to be a good one, and it's a little, my son's a little young for this yet, to read on his own and to really understand it. But I went out and I bought the hardback box set because something in me said, this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a good one. And then I read it, and seriously, it's I'm going to cry already.
I know.
Just the memories of reading it this first time and my son being a part of that, because the audiobook is amazing. I listened to the audio too because I happened to find it and I thought, let's give it a shot. And it's so beautiful. I was listening and he heard it and came in from the other room and wanted to listen with me and was talking to me. I had to keep stopping it because he wanted to talk about what he was hearing and what was happening. And then when we watched the movie together, I mean, this is a 6. This is a 6. And I'm good now. I'm not crying anymore.
I do want to note that it is narrated by Kate Atwater, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, amazing job. I did do a little sneak peek into the audiobook, and it sounded incredible.
Well, because it's not just her reading. They have like the sounds of the ocean in the background and the birds and the wildlife. And that's only for the first like 10 chapters. And when I say chapters, this is It's a middle grade book. It's a kid's book. So these
Mhm.
chapters and sometimes are only like one page. So like these aren't like long chapters, but for the first like 15 minutes of the audiobook, 15 to 20 minutes, they have like the animal sounds and the wilderness sounds, and that's what instantly drew my kid in. And when those sounds faded away and it was just the narration, he didn't even notice. He was still already sunk into the story and ready for more. It was just so well done. It was an experience. If you have a kid who's not necessarily going to sit and listen to you read, the audiobook is just lovely. Absolutely
Mhm.
lovely.
Yeah. Okay, Lindsay?
So I gave it 4.5 bee boops because every good robot needs a bee boop in their system.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I really did like the story. I also listened to the audiobook. And the movie was just absolutely fantastic. And basically there's a point in the movie where the tears started and they didn't stop
Mhm.
until the end. But I didn't like how it made me feel.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
I get it.
Emotional damage.
Yep.
That was it.
Mhm. Yeah. I ended up giving it 5 acorns.
Aw.
I physically read I'm gonna get emotional.
Yep.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm gonna get emotional. I didn't think I was gonna get emotional so early.
Neither did
I feel
I.
like
Shoot.
that Trisha meme, which is like, wow, I'm already crying.
Yep.
I I don't know what it was about this book. I was like, wow, I'm crying over this robot mom taking care of her baby goose. Like, this
Yep.
is crazy. And it's like, I kind of talked to you guys about this a little bit, and I never thought I'd be reading so much middle grade so much later in my life. And there's something about reading it now where there's like an innocence to it, and reading it as an adult. And I feel like it's just hitting me and impacting me so hard recently for
Like it,
some reason.
and it's I feel like it's healing.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. Like it's
it's
healing something. And I don't
talking to
know. I'm
that
not
inner
what.
child.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm not even joking. I sobbed the second half of the book. I sobbed so much. I mean, I even sobbed like different parts of the first half of the book, but like
Mhm.
continuous crying the second half
Mhm.
of the book. And it wasn't even like super sad. It was just like
It was just
emotional.
big feelings.
Yeah.
Big feelings. It's not that any of them were particularly bad. They were just big.
Mhm. And I can't wait to read the rest of the series.
Absolutely.
And I never thought I would be like, I can't wait to read the rest of a middle grade series. And people are probably like, duh, like we already knew that this stuff was good. Like,
Right.
hello, we've been reading this as a well. Like, I'm just getting with the program,
And I
you
mean,
know,
the movie won 3 Oscars this year.
which
So
is insane. Like, the
insane
movie's
for an
incredible.
animated feature.
Yeah,
It,
movie incredible.
yep.
But let's get into all the spoilers because we got to get into everything. I'm holding my tissue.
Yep, I
Because
got my
honestly,
box.
I need to prepare. So, if you haven't finished The Wild Robot yet, now's the time to pause because we're about to dive into all the spoilers. If you're ready to laugh with us or cry with us, then keep on listening. But I want to start with the content warnings. And let me know if I missed anything. But this book and movie has themes of survival and loss, death of characters, animals, those are the characters, isolation and loneliness, and bullying. So, but let's go ahead. You guys can think of anything else
No,
of
sounds
Sounds
good.
any other content
that covers
warnings.
it, yeah.
Storygraph is, we say this a lot, but Storygraph is an excellent place to look for additional content warnings if you want to double check before getting into the story. But first, let's get into our book versus movie breakdown. But I want to talk about the animation style first because I thought it
Mhm.
was super interesting. Like, this is a DreamWorks movie,
Mhm.
but there was like a different style to it that I've personally
Right,
experienced.
because when you think of DreamWorks, you think of, like, Shrek,
Mhm.
right? And this was not at all that style.
Yeah.
This was softer? Is
It
that
almost had like a I almost wanna say like a comic book type feeling to it. Like, it
Almost,
Yeah.
kind
yeah.
of was giving like that the newest like the Spider-Man movie, the animated, like, it kind of was giving me that feeling a little bit whenever I saw that.
Like the
Like, at
Yeah.
first I
Spideyverse.
was like yeah. At
Mhm.
first I was like, "Whoa." Like, the way that it was animated. I thought
But
it
I
was really
like that.
interesting.
I think that it was a little bit more simple and not as not even, like, the color palette was not as incredibly in your face vibrant as a lot of animated movies from, the big ones like DreamWorks and Pixar and stuff like that, like, where you expect those bright, vibrant colors. This was more subdued, this was more wilderness, and I think keeping it a little more natural, a little more subtle allowed the story itself to stand out, and I
Mhm.
really I really liked that. I thought it was a little bit more like, it's time to sit down and be calm and listen to a story instead of be excited about a story, and, I
Yeah.
mean, there were still excited moments, my kids still bounced off the walls through a few parts, but
Mhm.
it was the kind of movie where we sit and watch,
Yeah.
and it was obvious by the way it looked, it set the vibes were right.
Yeah. Yeah. And it definitely, if you look at the illustrations in the book, it definitely has different look about, like, Roz and things like that,
Yeah.
but I just think it was just done so well.
Mhm.
Like you said, Crystal, there was, like, a softness to it with the animation, and I think it was done really well, and like you said, it set the tone for what we're about to get into. So, in the beginning, Roz, which is the robot, and which is based off like Rosam brand robots, arrives on this island because there's a storm and a bunch of robots fell off a ship or something. And then Roz arrives in a crate and arrives on this island and breaks out of, or the crate opens and now Roz is on this island and basically doesn't know like this is just where Roz is now here on this island and has to learn to survive on this island. That's basically the setup here. And right from the beginning of the book and movie, Roz is like learning how to walk and learning her environment.
Mhm.
And like it's really cool because like Roz, the whole point of Roz is like she observes and that's how she learns how to do something. Like right off the bat, she's observing how a crab walks up the cliff. So that's how she's going to get up the cliff and move to the next location in order to understand her environment and where to go next. Because basically the whole point is that she's like wondering who ordered her and wondering what her purpose is and what like her tasks are.
Mhm.
And this is like kind of more subtle in the book, but in the movie, this part was hysterical.
Yes, in the movie, this was and the
Yeah.
book and the movie are just different enough that
Yeah.
they were both enjoyable separately,
Exactly.
and I loved the way it was, again, soft and gentle in the book, kind of a slower but in the movie, the humor just, like,
Mhm.
punches you. I was cracking up
Yeah.
through this
And it was needed. It was needed through this cuz we were going through it.
we were
We were
going
going through it.
through it.
Yeah. So we needed the humor. Like she is basically in the movie because like you said it's much slower in the book. It's a slower pace, but not to the point that you want to not want to continue, but
No.
it's slower in the sense that like we're getting to know the character Roz a little more. This is more fast-paced for, to keep your attention a little bit more in the movie. But immediately she's wondering who ordered her and she's harassing these animals. Be like, "Did you order a Roz robot?" She's like, "Thank you. How may I assist you?" Like taking their picture. Like the animals are like blinded for a second, like putting a sticker on them. "Thank you for." How may I assist you? What task do you need? There
She's
is
aggressively
yeah.
helpful.
The one, I think it was the beaver or something, and she is literally sprinting a full sprint at this, like, beaver, like, "How may I assist you?" Like, asking for, like, their like, "How I you need your car's extended warranty or something," like, you're being harassed.
I
Right.
thought she was like a Boney from Warm Bodies.
Yes!
The
Right.
sprinting.
Yes.
And I love how in the movie she doesn't even like wait for an answer. She's just like, "Oh, I see your problem, Mr. Beaver." And like because she sees that the water is blocked up, so she
Mhm.
destroys his dam. She's like, "There you go." Like
Yeah. Yeah.
and then gives him a sticker. Like
Mhm. And all
how
the animals
how
are
would you rate the
panicking.
completion of my task on a
Yeah.
scale of 1 to 10? Like
And all the animals are panicking. They're like, "What the hell is this? This is not normal. We don't know what you are. Get out of here. You're ruining everything. Stop." And, that's kind of like the whole theme in like the beginning where she's just like, "I'm just here to complete my task. Like, who ordered me? And like, I need to figure out what I'm supposed to do next," kind of thing. And I love this quote from, it's like right in the beginning, like page 24, is like, as the robot looked out at the island, it never even occurred to her that she might not belong here. As far as Roz knew, she was home. So she does not know that she's supposed to be anywhere else but on this island. This is home. This is where she has to be, and she's got to complete her daily task every day. And so we also see that like Roz sleeps to learn. So in order she sees that like things aren't going well with these animals, she's not, becoming building a good relationship with these animals. And the way that she learns is basically sitting there for a really long time and just watches
she
these
just
animals around her,
observes.
observes, and puts it into her brain how each of them communicate with each other, how each of them,
This
do
was
things
one of
in their
my
daily
favorite
lives.
parts of the
Mhm.
story
Yeah.
because like having like when we stopped with my son to talk about this part because again he wanted to talk about every single part. But we talked about like sometimes remember how we watch things and then we learn and we sometimes we just and like kind of seeing that represented in a book so well. And then again in the movie, like reinforcing that like sometimes you just sit and watch. You don't have to talk, you don't have to ask, you don't have to touch, you just watch.
Yeah.
That's as a parent, I need my kid to hear that a lot. So I
Yeah.
was okay with that. Like
Yeah, and I also really love this part where, like, she sees, like, an insect camouflaging themselves, and that's how
mhm,
she learns how to camouflage herself. And she's like she learns, like, immediately these, like, different aspects of these animals, how they talk, and then she learns how to talk with the animals. But, she's sitting in this one place, and, like, things are growing around her because she's sitting there for a really, really long time, and all the animals around her, she's eventually being known as, like, this monster on this
mhm.
island because everyone's like,
They don't
"We
know what
don't
a
know."
robot
Yeah.
is,
All the
so
animals talk, by the way. Yeah. And they're all like, they're gossiping like, "Who the hell is that? She don't look like us."
right?
Yeah. So, and they freak out because, eventually when she starts learning all these animal traits from all of them, she like gets up and she's like, "All right, I'm ready. Like I'm ready to, do my task for everyone." And all this stuff, and then they're like, "Oh my god, the monster's awake, like, we gotta run."
Oh no, monsters here.
Oh, no. So, during Roz's, like, general curiosity on the island, she eventually, she encounters a lot of animals, like, that's kind of like in the book, this is a much slower pace event where, like, you get to see every single animal that she's, like, interacting with, and it's super
Mhm,
cute, like, every single interaction, like, in the beginning, when she's, like, having really bad interactions with these animals, and then slowly as the relationships build and get better throughout the book. Movie, it's kind of like you get it for a second or you never get like the initial interaction and then you start building relationships later.
right.
But like we said, book is a much slower pace. But eventually during Roz's curiosity, one of those reactions are with a bear where she is chased by a bear. And the sequence of events in the book in the movie are a little different. But what I thought was super interesting in the book, there's a quote that says, the robot's programming would not allow her to be violent.
Oh, what do you know? It's the first law of robotics.
I know.
Hey.
I see. Look what I did. Look what I did, Crystal. Are you proud of me?
Also,
Are you proud?
I'm very proud. Did you notice the third law in there too? Where
I
she
don't
wasn't
know. Did
allowed
I?
her self-preservation protocols kicked
Yes.
in
Yes. Mm-hmm.
because she's not allowed to damage herself unless
Yes.
it violates the first or
Mm-hmm.
second law. Yep.
It kept clicking in my head.
It's everywhere. I'm
Yep.
telling you.
It's clicking.
Aren't you
It's clicking
glad
for me.
Aren't you glad I made that one happen? I know
Yeah.
that y'all only gave it 2.5, but it was a learning thing. You needed to know this stuff. You needed to know the origin story of these laws when we see them other places.
Well, now we do. Now we do. Look at us. Look at
You're
us.
welcome.
So basically there's like I said, its sequence of events are very different. In the book movie, some characters are missing and some characters are more significant in the movie than they are in the book. But there is an accident that happens in both the book and the movie where in the movie specifically, a bear chase happens and which causes Roz to fall on a nest of geese. And it causes an accident where a family of geese are killed except for one egg. But in the book, this is different where Roz actually is like climbing a cliff and accidentally falls. Like it's
Because a
this
storm like blows
yeah,
in and blows her off
yeah,
the cliff or
and
whatever.
falls on this nest of geese and kills them. I think it's interesting that they changed this.
Yeah.
Where I think it's changed on purpose to make it less
That's
of
her fault.
Roz's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because honestly, like when you read this book, it's a little brutal.
It's
Mm-hmm.
brutal. And they
So
talk about
unexpected.
they talk about like nature can be ugly sometimes,
Exactly, like the circle of life. It's like a big theme in this book.
which again was honestly like I'm comfortable talking to my son about that right now because we have had deaths in the family, and so like trying to make more sense of that, like this is nature, like this was a good kind of book for that.
Mhm.
But I understand why, like at this age, if you haven't had that talk with your kids yet, if they haven't experienced that yet, this might be that caution point where maybe like it's a good introduction, but also you got to know your kid first, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they definitely don't. In the book, it's a little more heavy-handed than it is in the movie,
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh yeah, I would definitely say in the movie they make it much more lighter,
Yeah.
much lighter in the movie than they do in the book. The book is I'm not going to sit here and say the book is like graphic or anything, but like the topic is pretty present in the book.
Yeah.
But one egg is left in this nest and Roz, picks up this egg and kind of, becomes the caretaker of this egg because there's still like a little baby goose still in this egg. And in the movie, this is very different than the book because Fink,
Mm-hmm.
is that the right name?
Yeah.
I was like, did
Think
I just make that
Fox.
up?
Nope.
Fink the
Fink
fox
the fox.
or Pedro.
Yeah, or Pedro. Pedro Pascal. Fink the fox is very present in the movie, not very present in the book, as someone that helps Roz take care of this baby goose. And there's also a possum who's like a mom that has like a bunch of little babies that also helps as well, who's not very present in the book either. But there is just this like really cute, funny sequence in the movie where Roz is like kind of like, I don't really know what to do like with this baby goose because the baby goose hatches and she's like, yeah, I don't know what to do with this. So here you go. My task is complete. Put it on the ground. okay, bye, and then like ready to go. And you know what's interesting? Something else that's very different in the movie and the book is that in the movie she has this thing called like a transmitter that goes on top of her head, and she's
Mhm.
constantly trying to get back where she's supposed to be. Where she activates this transmitter and it'll take her back to whoever owns her or something like that, or whoever made her. And in the book, that's not a thing. She's never like trying, she doesn't know who made her to get back to or anything or
Right.
trying to locate anybody. She's just like, this is just what I do. I'm just on this island. And so she's like, my task is complete. Start the transmitter. I'm ready to go now. And like this little baby goose is like chasing her around because it's so attached to her now. And it is the most adorable thing in the entire world.
It really is.
And in the book, they don't do this in the movie, but in the book, the baby goose is calling her mama all the time.
Because geese imprint on the
Yeah.
first thing they see when
Mhm.
they hatch, and the first thing that this goose saw was Roz.
Yeah. And it was like my heart every time it was calling her mama.
Yep.
I
This is when I
literally
started crying.
Yeah. Yeah. I was worried for you, Crystal, I ain't gonna lie. I was like, I was reading, I was like, "Oh my gosh, Crystal's
Well,
going
you
to
kept
freak
messaging
out."
us, telling us that, like, "Oh gosh, I'm crying. Oh gosh,
Yeah.
I am not okay." And I thought to myself, "I'm screwed." Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I
but I needed that warning. I appreciate you for that. I needed
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I was a little panicked a little bit. But during if you read the book first and then you go into the movie, this sequence of meeting Fink the fox and the possum and Roz trying to figure out what she's going to do with this baby goose, it was a little jarring to me. I don't know if you both
It
felt
was
this way.
not the same.
Yeah, it felt a little jarring where like this baby goose almost dies like 8 times. And like it was very like not she was not about this little goose and wasn't really caring for it like she was in the book in the
Mhm.
beginning, and was kind of like it was just being like thrown around a lot and almost like dying like so many times by the fox, by other
Yeah.
like creatures that it encounters and things like that. And I was like, I was a little panicked. I was like, oh my god, stop,
I
the
think
goose, the goose.
the biggest difference in the between the book and the movie to me was this part, because like in the book it's Roz's idea from A to from the start, from
Mm-hmm.
go, that she is now responsible for this goose because of what happened to the nest and the goose's
Yeah.
parents. And so like she initiates, I'm going to take care of this egg, this gooseling, this gosling for forever. This is my goose now.
Mm-hmm.
And in the movie it was very much like, I have to protect the egg, but once the egg is hatched, I'm out.
Yeah.
And does not like, and is constantly trying to get rid of the goose, like, go away, you're fine, don't stop
Mm-hmm.
following me. And then comes across the possum, and the possum is like, this is your job now. And that's when Roz, like the little like robot, I must take like the second law of robotics, I must complete any task that's given to me by a human.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously there's no humans, so now we're with possums. And the possum's like, this is your job now, honey. And that's when Roz decides, oh, I have to take care of
Yeah.
this goose. And we get the checklist of feed it, teach it to swim, teach it to fly.
Yeah.
But if Fink the fox and I think Pinktail the
Pink
possum
tail. Mm-hmm.
had not told Roz that, Roz like told that as a command, then would Roz have done that? Because in the book, it was already her idea. She was already
Mm-hmm.
going to do that. She was actively looking for help from other people. Can you please help me? I want to take care of this goose.
Yeah.
Where in the movie it was, will someone take this freaking goose for me? Like,
Yeah.
which as a parent, I get both of those feelings. That's
Well,
legit.
like I kind
And
of
I
get how the
identify as the
movie
possum. Like,
the possum that was like what she heard like one of her kids like get eaten and she's like, well,
Oh, that's 6 now.
6 now.
yep.
And then she realized one of them is still alive. She's like, oh, yay. was like, damn.
Which
Get it?
Pinktail is voiced by Catherine O'Hara.
Mm-hmm.
I love her. She's
Yes.
fantastic. And
Absolutely.
she did amazing as Pinktail.
Yep.
It was good.
I guess the movie makes more sense. Like the robot just like having a desire to take care of something would be like what we would want, but the
Right.
movie had given a task and then eventually developing this
Yes.
connection makes more sense.
Yes.
So I
It
get that.
follows the 3 laws of robotics a
Yeah.
little better.
Yep. Because we know that now. Well, I know that now. I get it. I got it.
There you go.
I got it. Okay, so now I also want to kind of touch on like what we think. We kind of touched on this a little bit, but what we think the genre of the book is, as in where it falls in, because I've seen it categorized as like children's, young adult, and middle grade due to the content of the book.
Right.
So I am curious what you both think of that. Like now, because, we talk about how, especially right at that moment with like, there's a lot of like, death, talking about death and the
Mhm.
circle of life, especially in that moment in the movie, in the book, and what both of you think. I think middle grade is like a good
I think the like
category for it.
the younger side of middle grade.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember where I found it online where it said that it was recommended for 7 to 10 years old, and I feel like that's a solid fit. I
Yeah.
feel like that's because it is a longer book, so obviously we don't have the little ones reading it. But if they're like a guided reading, like again, my kiddo's 5 right now, and he handled this pretty well. Honestly, I was shocked that he stayed and listened to the whole thing over the course of a couple of days. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the 7 to 10 range, that younger side of middle grade, is probably about right.
Yeah. Lindsay, what do you think?
Oh, I totally agree. Definitely younger side of middle grade.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any teenagers that would want to read this, so I would not, because they would be like, "Oh, it's too juvenile." Because
Yeah.
all teenagers are judgmental.
And then you have
It's
to get
just
into your like late 20s, early 30s to be like, oh, I
exactly,
appreciate it again.
exactly. You have to
Yeah,
like
totally.
get through that hump of when you think you already know everything and you don't need to be taught anything.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I totally get that. So at this point, the Gosling and Roz now have this new task together. And, the Gosling is super attached to Roz, and the Roz is now learning to be a mother to this new baby goose with the help in the movie, with the help of Finks the fox. And in the book, it's the help of another goose who I think is named Loudwing.
Mm-hmm.
So, which
And the
honestly
Beaver
made a little
family.
more, yeah, and the Beaver family. So, like we said in the book, we see that there's connections that slowly build in the book. Like whenever she's like eventually building a home, she like builds a connection with the beavers and they help her build this home. And then she eventually builds a connection with a goose that helps her like raise this baby goose and giving her advice.
And the deer that help her start the
Yeah.
garden, and
Yeah.
the like it so it like
Yeah, she starts to build like a family and
I hated this about the movie, although I loved the movie.
yeah.
The book focuses on that building of community.
Like it takes a village kind of
Right.
feeling.
And the movie, and I understand they have to cut out things for time, but there was a lot more bullying happening in the movie than there was
Yes,
in
I
the
wanna
book.
talk about that.
Just they really shunned, even though like here's Roz with this baby that she is actively trying to save. Her only friends are the fox that nobody else likes because the fox is a carnivore and is
Mhm.
constantly stealing everybody's eggs and children and
Mhm.
whatever. And Pinktail, who nobody likes because her and all of her kids fake dead all the time. So like
Yeah.
it's like this tiny little group of outcasts, and then literally everyone else shuns them.
Mhm.
And it's like that does not happen in the book.
Nope.
Like the minute Roz takes on this Gosling, it is like, okay, we like the whole community comes in, like, we're not gonna let this baby goose die. Like, let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, because like we said before, like The tasks are feed the gosling, swim, fly. That's the task that Roz is given, and Roz is like, boop boop boop, like okay, like these are the tasks I'm given. I need to complete these tasks. And as like she's completing these tasks, she's developing a connection with this baby goose who she then names Bright Bill. And like we said, it's very different in the movie and in the book, but as Brightbill is getting older, he's also the runt, and he needs to learn how to swim, and it just feels very like more depressing in the
Mhm.
movie and much more sad where, you know, there's much more like bullying on screen whenever he wants to go learn how to swim.
Mhm.
And these other geese are like bullying him because this is super cute about the movie. We get to see it more in the movie, is that he is taking on his mother's mannerisms as a
Yes.
robot.
It's adorable.
Tears,
Yep.
sob, sob,
Yep.
sob, sob, sob. And he's like, "Hello, my name is Bright Bill." And he's like talking like a robot because he's been raised by a robot. And he's trying to swim. And they're watching diagrams of swimming as a human swimming and then going into the water to swim. Because in the book, he's also being helped by other geese to learn how to swim. But here, he's only got a fox
And a robot.
and a robot to help him swim. And there's so much bullying on screen
Mhm.
on the movie.
And there is a
And
bullying moment in the book where
yeah, it's
he
like
comes
kind of
home from
alluded
swimming,
to. Yeah.
with the other goslings,
Mm-hmm.
but like he says that like don't whatever whatever, and then I guess Roz talks to like some of the other geese and was like,
Yeah.
hey, talk to your kids, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
But in the movie, like the whole flock, all the
Mm-hmm.
geese hate Bright Bill,
Yeah.
and that's when I started crying again in the movie
Yeah. There's a moment that really made me cry in the book.
with the stupid
I'm going to try
with,
really hard not to cry right now.
okay.
But the we talk about how Brightbill like takes on the mannerisms of his mom. Roz, I'm going to cry.
Get that tissue.
Roz taking on like mom mannerisms from other characters
Yep.
made me sob in the book.
Hmm.
Like she was like not understanding different things about being a mom, and then like if you would catch on with different quotes she would say eventually, like saying it's okay, you know how they are at this age, because she knew other moms would say that and would
Hmm.
eventually catch on to that, and that
Yep.
shit made me sob, man.
Yep. Yep.
Like that was messed up.
That's a
I
real
didn't
rough
like
one.
that. I didn't like that at all. Like, and it was like there was a lot of quotes. I marked so many of those. Every time she would do it, I'd start crying and I'd mark it, like I would tab it because I was like, I just like it was, I don't know why it just kept affecting me where it was like she doesn't know like any of those quotes
Yep.
or like those mannerisms, and then eventually starts like building on to those. And then like I'm also thinking about like that's like the case for like anyone who like who's never been a mom before, like you don't know,
No,
and you start
that's
to
how
build those
parenting
mannerisms.
is.
Yeah.
You fake it by looking at all the other moms and seeing what
Yeah.
they're doing. Yeah. No, for me, the biggest cry probably, okay, there's two really big ones, but the first one was that first swim when the pike is
Oh
trying,
yeah.
like, comes up and all the other goslings have their families to protect them, and they leave, but Roz can't go into the water because she can't get wet, and yet she's watching her son
Mhm.
being chased by this pike who's trying to eat him, and she can't go get him. And in the movie they make it like her foot gets stuck in the rocks and she can't go, but in the
Mhm.
book it's her programming. She's trying and she can't go forward. I sobbed because as a mom, there is nothing worse than knowing you can't help your kid, than watching your kid. And I mean, I've never watched my kid get attacked by a pike, but like between my son and my daughter who's grown and moved out, like there have been so many moments when it's like, this is a moment I can't help them. This is a
Mhm.
moment they have to do on their own. I like seriously sobbed. And this is when my son was like, I'll make you happy again, mommy. And I was
Aw.
like, you made it worse. Like,
Oh, no.
it
Crystal
was
over here,
awful.
my Shayla.
I'm
My
telling you,
Shayla.
it was so bad.
Yeah, it was rough. And at this point, whenever all that bullying happens, another big difference between the book and the movie is that, Bright Bill at this point like learns about his family's death and how it happened, and
Mhm.
that Roz was a part of his family's death. And huge difference between the book and the movie is that Bright Bill really resents Roz in the movie. In the book, learns about his family death, and he's like, so you're not actually like my mom? And Roz is like, no. And then he's literally quote from the book. He's like, I think I'll keep calling you mama. I'm gonna start crying again, man.
Yep.
He's like, I think I'll keep calling you mama. And then she goes, I think I will keep calling you son. And he goes, we're a strange family, but I kind of like it that way.
Yep. Yep.
Not in the movie.
Nope.
I was like, why are we putting this conflict in here? Like, that really upsets me. Like, can you imagine like what it would be like if Bright Bill was just like, you know what? It's okay because, I care about you and you're my mom. Like, could
And
you
circle of
imagine?
life.
Oh my gosh. Could
And
you imagine? That would be so crazy. I feel like this was like a typical trope to put in here.
and it was so much circle of life in the book and even in parts of the movie that all the animals accepted death as part of the process of life.
Mhm.
So why would Bright Bill be any different?
Yeah.
Why is this any different than suddenly like death is not okay now?
Yeah. I mean, there's like a whole I get going through the grief of it and like trying to understand that and processing that stuff. I get
Right.
that. And having to putting that storyline in there. I get it. But I just feel like that storyline it's predictable
Yeah.
probably in it a lot, and I was like, can you
And I
imagine if like you
loved
just were like, it's okay, like you're still my mom.
and I love the acceptance in the book because it
Yeah.
really was this like strange family, I think is actually the title of the chapter.
Mhm.
And that's there's so many like non traditional families out there anymore. Like my family is non-traditional, and between interracial families and step families and adopted families and found family, like they could have really made this a moment that was like still accepting, still showing love. Like, yes, I have some strong feelings about what's happened, but I love you no matter what kind of thing. But instead they made it a conflict. And that like the book did it so well and the movie just missed the mark there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a little disappointed by that. And then after this in the book, there's like this button incident where Roz has a button on the back of her head that can, reset her, turn her off, and turn her back on. And, they keep thinking about this button on the back of her head. They're like, should we test it kind of thing? And Bright Bill like turns it off,
The
turns Roz
Mhm.
off.
anxiety. The anxiety.
Literally, my heart was about to jump out of my
I was
throat.
crying. I was crying.
And she
Especially
like,
that he was like, I don't know if I even want to turn it back on because I'm so scared of what'll happen. But
yeah.
I also can't leave her off. What do
Yeah,
I
and she, like,
do?
literally, like, goes completely out and then eventually turns back on, and she's like, "What happened? How long was I out?" And he's like, "Oh my god. Okay, good. Like, everything's fine." That
Hmm.
doesn't happen in the movie, but in the book, it happened. It had me stressed. But
Hmm.
eventually, after this, from this point on, the movie is out for blood. Okay, just gonna say that the movie is completely out for. I mean, the book is too, but the movie really is out for blood. And so we have basically the geese need to migrate, and Bright Bill needs to learn how to fly. And Bright Bill in the movie is still really upset with his mom, and in the movie, but they're like, Bright Bill really needs to learn how to fly. And she's like, I just need to help teach you how to fly. And Roz like connects with other people to help how to fly or help teach him how to fly. And at this point, Roz is missing a leg as well. I forget how it happens in the movie, but in the book, it's due to like another bear attack.
It was when the bear knocked her off the cliff.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's missing like part of her leg and she like can't like run completely right. And they're like pressed for time. Like the geese are about to migrate and Bright Bill cannot fly
Because
correctly.
he's a runt. He's got
Yeah,
smaller
and not
wings.
very strong. Like not the wings are not super strong. The movie was trying to ruin my life at this point.
This was the point where the tears started for me.
And
Yeah.
don't stop to the end.
You
Like-
have to know, to our listeners, through while Keri was reading and watching, she would message us and just be like, oh my gosh, I'm crying again. I am not okay. Oh my gosh, this movie got me, whatever. And then I read it and I was like, holy cow, this is rough. And then I watched the movie and I was like, damn, this, like, I can't. And then Lindsey was like, gosh, the book really didn't make me cry, you guys. I feel heartless. And then like we get a text a few hours later. It's like, the movie got me.
Yeah.
We knew it was coming. We knew it.
Yeah. I was watching with my family and they're like, Keri, why are you doing this to us?
Yep.
It was it was obviously so amazing and so incredible and so beautiful.
It is.
So emotional because Roz is just like doing everything in her power to help her son fly into the air to go away on this migration and it like doing absolutely everything. Eventually become like a falcon comes and helps to get Bright Bill strong enough to fly on this migration. And eventually Bright Bill gets strong enough to leave. And let me tell you, one of the saddest scenes I ever seen in my whole life. And I'll tell you one more. That's equally as sad is if you've seen Jurassic World where they're leaving on the ship and there's one dinosaur that's left on the island and the whole island is burning. You know that scene? I'll tell you the same one that's just as bad, and it's this one right here. Okay, Bright Bill flying off in the distance with his migration.
Yep.
And Roz, like literally saying goodbye and puts. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry again. I'm gonna cry again.
My Shayla.
My Shayla. Well, first of all, while Roz is like teaching the beaver, that's like the grumpy old beaver that like won't like who like literally everyone is like makes fun of him, so he hates everybody like for good reason because everyone makes fun of him. He's like, screw you guys. Literally, he's like a grumpy guy, and he notices that Roz can't walk right, so he builds her a foot to help her, because he sees how hard she's working to help Bright Bill. Sobbing. And so now she has like a wooden foot to help. And then I have goosebumps right now. I literally have chills. So then they're like, you want to do one last like run off because she's been practicing with him, where she puts Bright Bill on her shoulder and runs off with him. And so that he can have like a good takeoff run so he can fly off to the migration with everyone, all the geese. And he's like in the front with like the best flyer out there.
And like
Loudwing flyer,
right? And Loudwing tells him just before they take off that like you need to say goodbye to Roz. She gave you a gift, because we all know you're the runt. You wouldn't have made it naturally if your family hadn't died. You wouldn't have lived.
Yeah,
and I lost it because that part's not even in the book. I lost it.
Yeah,
because every parent does this. They set their kids up. They teach their kids to leave. That's a sign of a great parent. And I'm gonna cry again. My daughter is grown and married and has her own house and a great job. She works really hard, and I'm so proud of her. And she doesn't need me anymore, and I'm so proud of that. But that's the hardest thing in the world. So here, this is the hardest part. And watching Roz run and give him that boost at that because that's what a good mom does. That's what a good parent does. And I had to stop the movie. My kid's yelling at me like, why'd you stop the movie? And then he notices that I'm like gasping and just tears rolling. And And I'm thinking to myself with this beautiful child next to me that, like, I have to do the same thing for him. And then I started all over again. Because,
Mhm.
like, that's, I can only imagine your parents lost it, didn't they, Keri?
Mhm.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, sobbing. Out loud sobbing.
Yep. It was
Yeah.
ugly crying.
Yeah, we were all ugly crying, and there's a point where she, like, watches them all fly off, and then she just has a moment, and she runs to a tree, climbs I'm gonna stop again.
Yes.
And she climbs to the top of the tree to watch all the geese fly away, and, like, Brightbill comes back to, like, fly past her
Do a
and goes away.
flyby.
Yeah, and she just stays at the top of, like, this tree to watch. And literally, that part, screw you guys for putting that part in that movie
Mhm.
because that really messed me up.
Wrecked me.
And then she's sitting there for so long because she's so sad, staring at the same time. She's doing the Bella from Twilight. It's a possibility. She's doing the
Mhm.
Bella.
Mhm.
And I'm sobbing again,
Yep.
sobbing
I
constantly.
mean, honestly, I needed that part where she sat
Yeah.
there because I needed to collect
Yeah.
myself. Like,
Now it's winter, winter is here and she's, still sitting there, and at this point she's like has to go back to her like little house that she has, and she realizes that all like the animals are struggling because it's like the worst winter they've ever had, and she kind of comes together. She's like, I need to do something because in the movie she's like, all right, my tasks are done. Like I did all my tasks because she did feeding,
swim,
swimming, flying,
flying.
and she's like, tasks are done, so I'm gonna do my transmitter thing and leave. And then she's like, you know what? No, I need to see Brightbill when he comes back. Like she's just having all these moments. She's like, I need to see him when he comes back. And then there is a moment we kind of skipped over it, but I just want to touch on it real quick. Is whenever she goes back to the original scene where she was washed up and all like the robot parts are there. She does have this like amazing conversation with herself and with one of like the robots are like half alive in the movie only, not in the book, about being a mom and like just having just like a mini like crisis about what the heck is going on. It is one of the best
It
dialogues
was beautiful.
ever. I highly recommend watching the movie for that dialogue. It's incredible.
And she speaks to Rosm 626 or 6262.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris Sanders, the director who directed Lilo and Stitch was Experiment 626.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I love it. And I
Interesting.
love Lilo and Stitch. I'm surprised I didn't catch that.
That's cool.
Yep.
Oh, that
Lilo
is
and
really
Stitch
cool.
was my daughter's favorite movie when she was 5. So for this to be my son's new favorite is just when
That's
he's
cool.
5 is real. Oh, I'm going to cry again.
Full circle.
Full circle. So at this point, all like Roz is like keeping busy and stuff and getting all the animals into this house that she built with a fire, and all the animals, all the predators, everything in this one little area to help them stay warm for the winter. And this part in the book is a little brutal. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little brutal, where like a lot of animals are dead that they're encountering and things like that because of the winter and stuff.
Because that's what
And
makes her want to do it is she keeps
yeah,
coming across dead animals.
yeah, and this
And then
is
she just
like
goes and stands outside and says, if anybody can hear me, come to my place. I
yeah,
have a fire.
yeah. So she does that and helps all them, and there's like a rule in this home is like no one can eat each other kind of thing because
It's the
everyone's in one area.
it's the lodge truce or
Yeah,
whatever the nest because they call it the nest, the house.
yeah. So everyone is in this area and stays there to keep warm, and they're there for the whole winter. And then, at this point, Roz is like kind of powering down because there's no sun because she's also solar powered. And so she's kind of powering down, and she for the rest until it's like springtime. And then she wakes up
Yep.
because she hears the geese coming back. And then literally her like eyes like spring open, like she's like literally it's like the best day of her life, and she gets up and she runs to them because she hears the geese coming back. In the movie, we get everything that's happened while Brightbill was gone. In the book, Brightbill comes back and like tells her everything that's happened. Like we don't get Brightbill's perspective while in the book. But basically, like, while Brightbill was during his migration, he was with the geese. Basically, they encountered humans because they had to stay because it was like there was a really bad winter storm or something, and they had to stay undercover,
Mhm.
and they encountered a human, and he also encountered other robots. And during this encounter, the main goose, I can't remember what the main goose's name,
Long
that
necked.
led Longneck,
Mhm.
uh, died, was shot, literally in the book,
Mhm.
shot.
Yeah.
Also kind of in the movie, but not, like, fully shown. This part made me cry too in the movie because then Brightbill takes over to help lead the migration and takes over to lead the entire migration through the whole thing and leads them back home. But during this entire process, like, they finally get reunited and stuff, and in the movie, they don't really get reunited yet. Like, Roz kinda sees Brightbill and he's like, "Alright, I'm finally got to see him, he came home, he's alive, I'm
And
ready to go now."
he's got friendships with his
Mhm.
flock, and so she's just like, "Okay, I've completed my tasks.
Yeah.
He's safe. He's home."
Mhm. But eventually, the people that made her get signaled that they got a robot, random robot, on the island and come to get her. And they're known as like the Ricos or something. It's like RECO. And they arrive to come retrieve her. And in the book, she's like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, mm-mm. Movie, she's like, all right, time to go. Like, and she's about to be escorted into the ship to leave. And Brightbill's like yelling after her. Or no, it's the fox. The fox is
Fink.
yelling after
Yeah.
her, saying Brightbill wants to talk to you. And she jumps off the ship and she's like, see ya, I gotta go. And there's like this whole sequence of events that happens where these Ricos are trying to get her onto the ship. And in the movie, like a whole forest fire happens and all this stuff. And the movie, making me emotional again,
Mhm.
when she's running like the animals,
Mhm.
Yep.
like running like the deer, running like the bears and stuff. And basically, all the wildlife are saying, like, protecting her and fighting these robots to keep her there. And it's like so emotional because they like it's finally she's like they used to
She
call her a monster, but she's a part of this
she's
family.
part of the wilderness now.
Yeah.
She is the wild
Mhm.
robot.
Title
Yeah.
drop.
Yep. And then in the book, it's a little more I feel like it's a little more brutal in the book because
Yeah.
by the end of it, like, okay, also I almost took off half a star because at the end, the way one of the Ricos die is from the geese carrying a rifle and shooting one of the robots with it. I almost took off half a star for that because I was like, no, thank you. That's corny as hell. That is so corny.
It's
I
in
was
a
like, not
movie, I
the
can't think
geese.
Open Season. The movie Open Season. Yeah,
I was
the
like,
geese
not
and
the
the deer
geese.
get a rifle and start shooting the hunters. So yeah, it's corny. It
I was like,
doesn't
I'll get
quite
over
fit.
it. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
But at the end of the whole fight sequence in the book, she has no arms, no legs. She's a torso and her head. And that was like really a little traumatizing, I'm not gonna lie.
It
I was like,
Mhm.
oh my
was
God.
it was a lot in the book.
Yeah.
It
And
was a lot.
so they basically had to there she's like, look, I can't survive out here this way. So I'm gonna have to go on this ship and be taken back, and then I'll eventually find my way back to you. And that's kind of like how the cliffhanger is in the book. In the movie, we get this whole thing, which is even more emotional, of her getting taken on this ship, Bright Bill saving her on the ship. And, she has this moment where she like puts Bright Bill like in her torso, like when she jumps out of the ship, there's like this whole thing. And it's just
Bald.
amazing. Yeah, bawling our eyes out.
Started crying, didn't
Yeah,
stop until the end of the movie, and
yeah,
even had to collect myself for a
yeah.
while after that.
But eventually, she does still decide that she still needs to leave because they're still going to keep coming after her, still going to be trying to find her. And so she was just like, you know what, I'm still going to leave. Still leaves, but, she has like this new job at the same place that Bright Bill used to, travel to during the migration. And at the end of the movie, we see that Bright Bill visits her while she's like wherever she is whenever he goes on his migration. I'm
Yep.
gonna cry again.
Don't do it. I'm good now.
Okay. Yeah, and I like how the movie ended. I think the movie was good. I am super curious how the books are going to continue, though.
I mean, I'll find out. I got them. I'll let you know.
Yeah, so I do want to keep reading the books.
Yeah.
I think book 2 is called The Lost Robot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, what are our final verdicts? I am curious. Like, if you had to pick between the book and the movie, like, you have to. There's no. You have to decide.
Can't say both?
No.
Oh.
I hate that. Don't like this game. Honestly, if I had to pick one, I would choose the book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would choose the book. That was a very, very special thing for me. Henry and I have watched movies. We have not read a big book together, and that was an experience I'll never forget. So
yeah,
book.
I'll go movie.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, the movie was really funny. Like, it was hitting my funny bone.
It hit. It really did. I loved the movie. I don't
Yeah.
want to say no to the movie, but you told me I had to make a choice. So
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. I think I'm still gonna go book though. I feel like a really good connection to the book.
I liked all
I'm-
of the actors that were in the movie, so.
Yeah, both
For
are
real.
amazing though. Both are
both are
incredible.
amazing. And we do live in a world where we can have both,
Yeah.
Keri.
Okay.
So
I was just being aggressive. Choose one or the other now. All right, so let's get into our question of the episode. During Roz's journey, she makes a lot of unexpected friends, from foxes and squirrels to deers and bears. If you could have any wild animal companion, which one would you choose and why?
I have a question to clarify, because my answer depends on whether or not I can understand the animal. Because Roz could, but like, I'm not a robot.
Sure.
I can? Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. All right, I know.
Okay. Go
Oh,
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
a fox. Because you know they're nosy and they've got the best gossip.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. That's my kind of friend.
Okay.
We're gonna be plotting together. We're gonna have so many plans and it's gonna be great.
All right. I like the vibes. Lindsay?
I had to choose one, so I went with the otters.
They're so cute. They
Those
were
were
so
so cute. I love them. Mine is so random. I would choose one of the sugar gliders.
Oh, those are so cute.
I
Okay.
have always in my literally, if I could pick I'm not a big pet person, but if I could pick any pet I could ever have in my entire life, it would be a sugar glider. Because they're
Okay.
super connected to you, and
Mhm.
also I have to have a pet that's super connected to me. Also, you can carry them around with you.
Yep.
I heard they're super annoying though, but I don't care. I just want them on me all the time, hanging out with me.
They're super social. From what I
Yeah.
understand, having more than one is always a good thing. Because
Yeah.
they that way when they're being super annoying to you, you can go put them in their own room and just be like,
Yeah.
leave me alone.
I've always wanted one of those, so I think that would be mine. All right, so that's a wrap for today's episode of The Wild Robot. We hope you enjoyed this journey through the wild world of Roz and her adventure on the island. Don't forget to subscribe. Hello? Hello? Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share the podcast. If you have any adaptation recommendations for us, feel free to submit it through the link in our description. I can't talk today.
It's all the crying.
I know. I'm like, help, help. Until then, remember that Roz had learned many things on the island, but the most important lesson was this: kindness is the key to survival. Thank you for joining us on this adventure. We'll meet you at our next stop of Based on a Book. Bye.
Bye.